You know it. Here's Daniel Jeremiah talking about the relationship between, so McVay, obviously, and Stafford have a great relationship.
Yeah.
Daniel Jeremiah said something. Listen very closely here, Mr. Cowherd. Here we go.
Stafford is the MVP of the league, but I don't think this is a 5-year runway they have there. They're this close to winning a Super Bowl. And everybody expects that whenever Stafford moves on, there's a decent chance that Sean McVay moves on. So this is their time right now. I can't wrap my brain around Sean McVay stamping that and saying, yeah, let's get a quarterback for the future. Oh, by the way, he's not going to be anywhere close to as talented as Stafford, and I might not even be here to coach him.
Yep. You could cross Ty Simpson off your wish list for the Rams. That's not happening. I love that insight from Daniel Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Would you agree or no?
I think they're going to sign Stafford to a 2-year deal, and this year they're going for it. Trent McDuffie move. They've got to get a tackle. They've got to get a safety, preferably and another wide receiver, but they don't have a lot of needs. That's why I think they have one first-round pick left. I think Mekhi Lemon at USC solves their punt woes, punt returns. He's got great hands, and gives them a third target because Puka and Devontae Adams get dinged up. So their Lemon would make their offense, and a right tackle. I mean, literally, it was number 1 in the league last year. It would be flawless. I do think what was interesting, Jason, they gave up not only a first this year, they gave up a third next year. So the Rams next year have a first-round pick and a second-round pick, but they now don't have a third or a fourth. And you know they're going to be good, right? You and I both know the Rams will be good. So how do they go from the 28th, 29th, 30th pick to go get the future quarterback? You can't. Yeah. Because they now, that's why it's surprising. McDuffie, I'm not surprised they gave up a first or a fifth and a sixth. I'm surprised they gave up a third next year, because now they don't have a third or a fourth next year, and they've got just a second. Well, you're going to have to give up more than a second to go from the 29th, 30th pick to number 6.
Yeah,
so you'll have to move off players potentially, and they have the depth they could probably do it. But that was interesting to me, is that I get this year going all in, but I thought honestly, if they moved off Garoppolo, they would take picks and they would just say, put them in next year's class, which is very attractive to teams. So I don't think McVay's retiring.
Well, I mean, listen, if they go to the Super Bowl next year, that will be 3 Super Bowl trips for him in what, like 7 or 8 years? Remember the one with Goff, then they won one with Stafford, and then they go to another one next year. That's a pretty great run, and he's almost walked away. Remember all this chatter? Is he going to go to a streaming service? Is he going to go to, do some studio work? There's been a lot of that. This guy runs hot, Colin. He's all in. And then he was close to stepping away. Come on, you give me another Super Bowl, I think he's out. And I think Kingsbury would be a great fit there. But
these people that work at lug nut factories or long haul truckers, they retire because that's a beatdown. Football coach making $15 million a year, loving what you do in your kind of cognitive prime, retire to what?
Well,
so okay, I'm so excited to have this conversation. I really am. We've been having a couple conversations that when I say I'm so excited, like, I'm not one of those people that just says things for the sake of saying things in that regard. I'm not like, all right, guys, this is going to be a great video. Now I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be a great video. So when I say I'm so excited, like I take it to the bank, man. Ironically, we had a conversation about this with Puka when Puka went on a podcast and talked about retirement, and Colin ripped it. And I kind of said the whole thing about, like, listen, the world is changing, the NFL is changing, et cetera, but these younger coaches are getting in so much earlier. And it's fascinating because it was already reported before any of this that, like, yes, there was obviously some of the, song and dance with maybe going to a streaming service and doing that, get paid like $100 million or something crazy, $200 million. And he's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm, going to keep coaching, which again makes total sense. But there was already talks about, like, McVay wanting to be married, have a kid, and you kids, I guess, and, and be part of that. What was it? Mike McDonald just talked about that. He, like, never sees his kid. I think he said he sees him like 30 minutes a day or something, whatever it may be. And so it really is interesting, especially when you're this young. Like, I'm not going to pretend like I know what it's like to be Sean McVay. I'm not even going to be able to pretend like I know what it's like to even have the type of mind that a Sean McVay has, because I know for me personally, I'm a deep thinker. I'm an analytical. I could be really passionate and tense and go. I mean, you see how many videos I make, like go, 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 go. But I know that there are different levels when you are a legitimate like CEO or CEO, you know, the C white, those people are legitimately wired differently. It's not just being super smart. It's not just, oh, well, they got to go to a good college, or nepotism or some of that obviously exists, but it's also like they are fundamentally wired differently if you haven't interacted with CEOs. And I'm not pretending like I'm out here, I'm not calling, I'm not mega wealthy, hanging out with GMs and whatnot. But like I've had family members who that is a track that they went, and I see all their friends and they're that track, and it's just different, man. Like everything about it is different. It's not just money and wealth. Their minds just operate at such a different level, and their ability to work insane hours. And again, it's different than if you're just working hard, working overtime at a lug nut factory like Colin is saying. Like it's hard. The best thing, if you don't have that experience of dealing with some of those people. And again, to be clear, I'm not acting like I'm Mr. Hanging Out with millionaires and billionaires here. But I think if you interact with other doctors or even lawyers to a degree, which you probably come across some doctors in your life, and maybe you haven't. And if you haven't, you know, lucky for you. But like you can see certain doctors, not all doctors, but certain doctors, especially if you go to like a high-end, medical care facility, like at a hospital where they're doing surgeries or whatnot. You just see they're different. They're like, you're just different. That is also what a head coach is going to be. That is what these coaches work an insane amount. They work an insane amount. And I promise you, because I feel this too, with my own, just with making these videos and whatnot and other aspects of my life, you're consumed by it. I can almost guarantee you that Sean McVay is never not thinking about football and the things that he needs to do when he's with his wife and he's with his kids, when no matter what he's doing, he's constantly thinking of all the work that he needs. It's just like you can't escape it. And yet, if you have the self-awareness of this, and if you have the confidence in this, you can step away. You can say, I do go all in. I do run. I do go so extreme. And it is also time for me to take that step back, right? It is time for me now that like I recognize that I want to be there for my family, my wife and kids. I made all the money. And Colin's like, well, what do you do if you retire? What do you do? And it's like he would immediately make an insane amount of money just doing his own podcast, let alone being on a streaming service, or showing up every Sunday on, I don't know, Fox, whatever that is called, whatever their kickoff team or whatever it's called. He shows up there, and who would you rather listen to, Grank and Howie or Sean McVay, right? Who do you think has more insight right now? Obviously, Sean McVay. You could listen to Sean McVay talk football all day, every day. I can tell you right now, if he starts having a podcast or a radio show or whatever, and Netflix is getting into it, right? We all know that now that Netflix would give him a $200 million football show on Netflix in a snap of the fingers that he could literally do in a wing of his home, okay? And it's just like, so money is not the problem. And even still analyzing and still getting that football scratch and itch is still something that he would easily be able to do. I also think that when you're someone like Sean McVay and you're in a more like achievement-based profession. So like, right, Colin's making, shows and podcasts. I'm making videos. There is theoretically no master accomplishment that you get, right? There is no, even if you win like an award or something, or you get a big contract, it's like, if I got offered like $100 million, which would be amazing, please do that. Universe, if I got paid $100 million to make these videos, it's like you just keep making the videos, right? You just keep making them, keep making them, keep making them. It's a new season every single year. You just go, go, go. But when you're in an achievement-based profession, like like McVay is winning Super Bowls, doing that. You're like, I achieved that, I did that, and you kind of almost like a part of you is almost kind of like, I, I, there's no other extra to that now. There is no keep going and going and going. You know that you kind of reach the conclusion: is there really a big difference between 2 Super Bowls and 4 Super Bowls? People love to make these legacy conversations, but it's not always the case. Sometimes it's like, I made my money, I coached, I did it at the highest level, and you know what? I'm going to stop at 45. I'm going to stop doing it because like I did it at the top. I did it at the highest level. I am one of the greatest coaches to ever live. And I don't need all the bottom line wins, or I don't need 7 Super Bowls. Like you're kind of just leaving it on your own terms in a lot of ways, and it's understandable. I see that mentality. It's why you see certain people, whether they're making movies or again, something that's a little bit can be seen as a little bit more accomplished based. You're just like, you kind of just end on your own terms. You're just kind of like, nope, I'm good. I did it. And then anything else I do from this point forward is like, it's like extra. It's not my real effort. It's kind of to the side. But someone like a Sean McVay, and this is where it's kind of hard to predict the future too much. Sean McVay could easily win another Super Bowl. And if he does want to retire, Stafford retires, he's like, okay, I'm done. He could like retire for like 10 years, be in the prime of his kids, you know, when they want to see him the most, right? When they're like, Daddy, I can't wait to play with you, right? Something like that. Like that's prime time to be a father. And once they're kind of like, Dad, you know, they're no longer saying Dad, they're like, Dad, I'm going to the movie. I'm going out with friends. Whatever. Like then it's like, all right, maybe I go back to coaching, and the dude will still be like, what, 50 or something, you know, like he would get a job. He would get a job in a instantly. People, of course, on the shows would question, does he still have it? Is he still as good? Like, you know, does he understand the way the modern NFL is played? Blah, blah. They would still hire him. They'd hire him in a second. Pete Carroll's out there getting hired. Mike McCarthy's out there getting hired. Harbaugh, what, got like $100 million contract or whatever the heck he got. Like of course they would. We saw it with Gruden, etc. So like even if he wants to just step away and be like, listen, man, I'm stepping away as one of the best to ever do it right now. Whether you know it or not, I am elite. I'm stepping away. I'm going all in with my family. I'm still going to make bank. And in fact, I could arguably make even more money on the TV scene, on the Netflix deal or YouTube or whatever it may be. And I get to be a great father, a great husband, a great friend, etc. And when we reach kind of some stability in that front, I can kind of go back to coaching if I even want to. So there's different ways of living. There's different ways of living. And I think when you get this high achieving and self-awareness in a modern world in 2026, it's different. It's why we see players retiring earlier. You see more and more of these players, of these athletes, like they're actually married and they have families, and it's like cool to be a great dad, to be a girl dad, whatever it may be, right? Have the kids on your lap as you're doing a press conference. Like that used to not be it. You used to take pride. It used to be a badge of honor to be like, all I care about is ball, nothing else. And it's like, actually, I care about my wife and kids more than I care about a Super Bowl. And I'm not afraid to admit it, but also understand that I do everything I can to win a Super Bowl. I do everything I can to get after it, but like I love my wife. I love my kids, right? Like that's what they elevated with Stafford even, right? It was all about his wife, his beautiful daughters, and all that type of stuff. And it was just like, yeah, that's great, that's special, that's awesome. And Stafford even said, and I believe him, I really, really believe, I should have started with this. Stafford said, you know, it's so great that my girls love, you know, that I go play football. He goes, if they weren't as into it, I don't know if I would still be playing. He goes, I probably still wouldn't be playing. I really don't think that's lip service. I really don't think that's something that just sounds nice to say. I believe it. I believe it. The fact that anyone who's around kids like you know that when they're into it, when they're excited, when they're actually excited that daddy's playing football, that he's out there and they're into it, that makes you excited. That makes you into it more. If they're less interested in it and they're just like, oh, daddy's playing football tonight, so we can't play now. You know, and it's just that type of energy. Yeah. If you actually care about being a good father and a good husband and all that type of stuff, that weighs on you. That weighs on you. it makes me think of Kelsey, of Jason Kelsey, when if you watch his documentaries, are really good. This was right after they lost the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs, and like, he was going on SNL or something. He was going on shows, and like his wife was kind of upset about it and stuff, and you could just see that he started to feel bad. He also was recognizing, man, my body, it's hard for me to like, squat down and play with my kids. Like, I'm just like always going to have this pain. And it was just like kind of it was actually kind of a depressing, a depressing documentary, but like he found his podcast during that time, and that gave him new life because he didn't really know what he was doing. He was like, I think he was trying to be like like a farmer where you grow like grass or something. I forget. He was trying all different things because he was just like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to make this all make sense? But, it all depends on what you care about and what you love and what matters to you. And I am a firm believer that multiple things can exist at the same time. You absolutely, positively can go all in and care to the absolute max about winning Super Bowls, about being the best quarterback that you can be, about being the best coach that you can be, about being the best basketball player, whatever it may be, and still really, really, truly want to be there to the highest degree that you can with your family. And sometimes that gets pulled, and sometimes it's time to step away or just, renegotiate the terms and conditions of the life contract, so to speak. And so I find conversations like this actually pretty fascinating, and the self-help life, pursuit of happiness version of me. And I do believe that the foundation of life is, to find happiness, to find content, to be content, to find that peace. Part of me wants him to retire because it's like, this is such an amazing example of someone who's achieving so much and is understanding that there's other aspects of life. And, one of the quotes I really like is like, if you can't trust the people that are actually doing it and learning from their advice, like, then who else are you going to learn from? You're going to learn from the one person who's never done it. Like, they might be right, but like, if someone who's achieving the highest levels of success is saying, you know what, this is not really making me as happy as I thought it was, that's worth listening to. The football version of me is like, I don't want Sean McVay to retire. Are you kidding me? I want this guy to coach for another 20 plus years. But the extra football nerd in me making videos is like, actually, I wanted to retire it, and I wanted to have a podcast because I'm telling you right now, I'm going to regurgitate a lot of the stuff that he says, and I'm going to defer to him. I'm going to be like, well, Sean McVay said that Jalen Hurts is actually a good pocket passer. I'm like, Sean McVay said it. I don't know what you want up for me. If you disagree with Sean, that's on you. Like, so, there's different paths, but, all jokes aside, it's like, of course I don't want him to retire. And obviously, if you're a Rams fan, you certainly don't want him to retire. I think Sean McVay is elite. I've said this pretty loud that outside of Andy Reid, I want Sean McVay. I think any team should want Sean McVay. But even if you're factoring in age now and whatnot, in terms of like, Andy's going to obviously retire eventually, it's like, if there was a draft right now and you were factoring in age, who are you picking over Sean McVay? I mean, listen, I'm a big fan of Matt LaFleur, a big fan of Kyle Shanahan, Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, all that. It's like, guys, sign me up for Sean McVay. I wouldn't bat an eyelash. It's just like 1,000%, 1,000%. And listen, this could also be technically just, laying out the sprinkles of a future contract negotiation, right? And that's what people kind of thought that maybe he did last time. Everything's all on the table. But even if none of it is on the table and it's already written in the stars, I still think it's an interesting conversation to have about being an incredibly successful, wealthy, achieving things in an achievement-oriented, profession industry, and the idea of like, yeah, there's a real chance that like he could walk away, and the conversation that follows and what it means. So hopefully that rant made sense, because I told you guys I was excited to have this conversation. Honestly, I could go on for another hour about this, because this to me is when life meets reality, when psychology meets reality, when happiness and the pursuit of, external achievements versus internal achievements, the balance of trying to compete and succeed in life, but also with family and dating and relationships and all of that, and it's like, for me, and I'll end here because I like to try to personalize these types of things. For me, making this, making videos and doing that, like that is absolutely with a shadow of doubt, like the absolute utmost priority in my life. And there's sometimes I had felt guilty about that where I'm just like, well, you're working so hard, you're making all these videos, you're talking about community and this or that. It's like, but like what about dating? What about love? What about this? And it's like, are you choosing the wrong thing? Right? If you had I run the tape in my head where I'm like, if you had the most successful YouTube channel in the history of the world, you surpassed everyone. You're past Mr. Beast. You're making $1 billion a year. You got all the videos and everyone says, "Oh my gosh, you're the smartest sports YouTuber out there. You're a genius. You're amazing. We love you. You just got the absolute maximum success, but you don't have any of the other stuff. You don't have a good relationship with your parents. You're not married. You don't have kids. How would you feel about that?" And I'm just like, yeah, I want that other stuff. And then you continue to follow that thread and be like, well, you know what? I do focus on a lot of that stuff. Do focus on friends and family. I do focus on dating and trying to build all that other aspect of life. But this is also really important to me too. And actually having this makes me a better father, one day. Father, son, uncle, brother, husband, boyfriend, whatever, and it's just like, it's understanding where all of these things kind of connect. But like I said to you guys before, when we were talking about Travis Kelce and kind of how his life has changed now that he's obviously marrying Taylor Swift, and all of that is like, if I'm married, if I got kids and I got a little 4-year-old girl over there who's like, "Daddy, come play with me," I'm like, probably gonna cut this video short. Thank you guys. Let me know your comments in the comments below. I'll see you all next time. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm running and I'm gonna go lay on the floor and go do whatever, have a tea party, play Mario Kart or whatever. It's like I'm doing that in a heartbeat. I will be spread more thin. I'm still going to work hard. I'm still going to make those videos. I'm still going to do anything, do what I want to, do what I feel that I need to do. Because for me, it's more of a necessity because I live for this. I live for these conversations. I live for talking sports and all of that. But it's going to be different. It certainly would be different. And that's just life. I hope this all made sense. I hope it makes sense because, like I said, man, I could go on for another hour and I feel like I could re-describe everything that I just said in a completely different way. But yeah. I'm telling you, this is when life hits reality. This is when life gets real. This is when you kind of take a second, you're just like, what are we all doing here, man? Like not to get too out there, but it's like, what are we all doing? Why do we wake up in the morning? What do we go to sleep at night? What are we all doing? So yeah, man. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about everything in the universe, all the stars? Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get some discussions. It's getting some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.